I was wondering why Marvel didn't do that much on San Diego Comic-Con, and it was because of D23. Well, we're going to talk about that and more on today's episode of the Geek Watch Podcast.
This is the Geek Watch Podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 224 of the Geek Watch Podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's very own geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hello, Brian.
And so let's talk D23, which I had completely forgotten was coming up. That was last week, which, like I said in the last podcast, I was wondering why it didn't seem like there was a whole lot for Hall H, and I had forgotten that Hall H tends to be the appetizer and D23 happens to be the main course. Mm-hmm. And so D23 is over, and there's a bunch of news from D23 and a lot of speculation from D23. I thought that might be something interesting we can talk about today.
Yes.
Obviously, the first big thing is that we did get a slew of new trailers for different things. We did get a trailer for Snow White, finally. The very controversial Snow White. I never thought I'd find myself saying that.
It never ends.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, it never ends. Gal Gadot looks gorgeous, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, there's these jokes. It's like she's jealous of somebody else's looks.
Right, yeah.
But a lot of people had forgotten that this was a thing.
Yeah.
And now prepare for the onslaught. Just as a reminder, yes, they are going to be doing that. And we did get a little bit of a snippet of, well, let's see. I'm trying to remember what other trailers that we saw. We did get a trailer for Skeleton Crew, the Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Are you familiar with that?
I am not. I was thinking you were talking did we get a Stephen King something coming out that I missed? What?
Well, no. The Skeleton Crew, this is Star Wars meets the Goonies. Yeah, so it's
I would have thought that was Battle for Endor.
Well, you have a group of youngsters who find what they believe to be an old Jedi temple that turns out to be a spaceship that takes off with them.
One-eyed Willies. Oh, God.
Yeah. So, it winds up taking off with them, and so it's a little bit of a Lost in Space, but it's a bunch of kids. And I believe on Coruscant that wind up having a big adventure.
I love it.
Yeah, a lot of people are looking forward to it.
Maybe they'll run into the Green Planet and we'll get to see E.T. That's brilliant, which we know is canon in the Star Wars universe. We saw E.T.'s species there,
that's right.
so we could see them.
Yeah, it's very possible. There you go. There's your crossover. But yeah, so we got that. There was another trailer for the new Captain America movie. We got more of a look of Red Hulk. We haven't gotten a full official release of that trailer yet. I have seen some leaks online. It's looking pretty spectacular, as one can imagine. Of course,
Harrison Ford as Red Hulk.
Yeah, and we did get to see a bit of the Fantastic Four costume because Johnny Storm wearing the costume. They were overseas filming. They've started filming on Fantastic Four, and they did a teleconference thing where they filmed something, welcoming everybody and saying we wish we could be there, but we wanted to give you a little taste of Fantastic Four that we're working on now. So we got that. We got teased about a bunch of different things. If there's something in Disney that you really like, you're probably going to see it again.
More and more sequels.
Yeah, we're getting Zootopia 2.
Yes.
Moana 2. We're getting Incredibles 3. We're getting Frozen 3, which apparently is going to be a two-parter.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. We're getting live-action Moana. We're getting live-action Lilo and Stitch. Obviously, Stitch technically is not live-action. We got to see a trailer for the Mustafa movie.
Oh, Brian. Man, I was caught up. In that. I mean, forget the animation, forget everything. It's the story that is getting me. It's, after seeing that, it's like Scar was right the whole time. It's like learning that Claudius should have been king and that Hamlet Sr. shouldn't have been king, and he had every right to kill him and take over the throne. It really, Mufasa was an adopted son. He wasn't the heir. I am so invested. From the looks of the trailer, that's the story.
Yeah, that does look like.
Taka Scar was the heir. He should have been king.
Yeah, apparently now maybe there's going to be something in the movie that'll be like.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
But whew.
Yeah. And we did get another trailer for Agatha All Along.
Yeah.
And apparently there is going to be some music. I guess there is this song that summons the Witch Road called Journey of the Witch Road, that there was a live performance of the song, and it's, of course, all over the trailer.
Okay.
So definitely looking forward to that as well. I'm trying to think of what else there was on the television side of things. Like Ironheart, we got to see Ryan Coogler came out. He's directing Ironheart. We got to see the cast for that, the new Daredevil.
I saw promotional photos of all the helmets lined up for Daredevil.
Yes. Vincent D'Onofrio had something to say that I thought was interesting, because the fear had always been they were going to soften it up. It wasn't going to be as vicious.
Right, as Netflix is willing to take more risks than Mickey Mouse is.
That was the fear, but according to Vincent D'Onofrio, there was stuff that they did in this show they were surprised about. They said, Netflix would have never let us do it. I'm like, oh, you guys are coming harder. There hasn't been an official release of the trailer. They showed the trailer at D23. I've seen snippets of it, leaks of it. Yeah, yes. We're definitely getting Bullseye. We're getting Punisher. We're getting White Tiger. And apparently we're getting a Daredevil Kingpin team up. They're going to be working together. That's interesting.
Which means the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So what big bad are we getting? What Daredevil lore are we going to have to deep dive into to get those to team up?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Very interesting. Now, I will say that there has been a lot of speculation. They had talked about so much stuff, but they didn't mention Blade at all. So now everybody's going, oh man, they're canceling Blade. And it's like, well, no, not necessarily. It's just they're in a holding pattern right now because they're missing a bunch of pieces. And if they've got nothing to report, then why report anything? I honestly feel like people are just going off of the deep end. Let's give this a chance. They're still invested in doing Blade. They haven't taken it off the schedule. If you look at upcoming movies for Marvel, there are like 4 slots that are not claimed for anything in the next 3 years.
Now, were we to get a legacy movie like Old Man Logan or something with Wesley Snipes, would it be Disney that has that, or who still owns Blade? Does Marvel have Blade back?
Well, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
I mean, that's obviously why they could, well, without going into spoilers in any movies maybe that I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious that they're going to be able to do Blade however they plan to do Blade. They want to really hit the animation side of things hard because it's been very successful for them. So, of course, we're going to get another season of What If, which it looks like it's going to be the last season of What If. But we're definitely getting that. We're definitely going to get the Spider-Man prequel animated series. We're definitely getting another season of X-Men 97.
Awesome.
They are for sure going to be coming at it pretty seriously. On the other side of things, just briefly, I'm going to say that DC has been loud with their silence because there's a lot of things they're not talking about at all. There's talk that we're not going to get a new Peacemaker until 2026, which I thought they were filming already. So, I mean, I could see maybe 2025, but they're saying they're going to hold it off that long. And they've already got the Superman movie filmed, and they're not really doing reshoots. They did like maybe a week of some minor reshoots, but they're ready to go. But they're not announcing any kind of release date there that I've seen online. I'd like to hear a little bit more, but I'm willing to wait on it. I'm just hoping something is actually getting done. But on the Marvel side of things, I don't feel like, because some things weren't mentioned, they certainly didn't say anything about Doctor Who at all at D23 that really made the news. And so
they haven't officially dropped it?
No.
Okay. For some reason, I thought there was a rumor that they had officially dropped it.
Well, there was a lot of talk about, I mean, there's a lot of speculation. And I certainly have my concerns about it because, again, you know, as much as I enjoyed season 1, which... or season 14, depending if you're a purist. And like I've said before, we comic book fans feel your pain. We've had our favorite magazines renumbered back to 1. We know exactly how
Yes.
that feels. There's been a lot of speculation, and I've felt a little bit of pain because of certain things about the season that I was like, well, I wish that would have went off better.
Mhm.
But until there's an announcement, there is no announcement.
Yeah,
So-
I'm not concerned as far as will there be a future. I know there will be some kind of future because it's Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Whether that's with Mickey Mouse's money or not, it will still exist and it will still be good because it was always good. Even when it didn't have money, it was good. And whether Bad Wolf Productions is all by their lonesome without Mickey Mouse money, it can still be good. If we just don't have that one season stays on Disney Plus all by itself, then that's where we'll go.
Yeah.
And we may have to go back to Netflix to see the rest of the seasons. That could be something, but I'm confident that Doctor Who will continue in some form, some fashion, wherever that may be.
Yeah.
Someone will pick it up. Maybe Sci-Fi will have to grab a hold of it or something.
Yeah,
But
I'm just wondering. I haven't watched sci-fi in a long time. I don't know. I can't really. Again, maybe they have
Trailer
some.
Park Shark? You haven't watched Trailer Park Shark?
Not. I'm just now hearing about Trailer Park Shark. So no.
Really?
Yeah, had no idea. But I haven't really watched anything sci-fi for a long time. So as far as original series, I don't even know if they're even into that anymore. A lot of those particular channels, like MTV, that used to do a lot of original programming, they're pretty much out of that business now. And I was wondering if sci-fi hadn't fallen into that same pit. Because I haven't really heard a lot about them recently, but that may just be I haven't really been paying attention. And that might be something to revisit, especially if there's a show called Trailer Park Shark on there.
Well, it was one of their original movies, like Sharknado and the like.
So it's one of those things.
Yeah. Worth the watch, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Good? No. But worth the watch, absolutely.
That's the thing. Something I've discovered about myself, and going into this is an ADHD moment, but hey, I got ADHD, and I am on the spectrum. So one thing that I have noticed about myself, and we've talked about this, one of the reasons why I tend to care a lot about certain things is because being on the spectrum, having ADHD, anytime I'm interested in anything, I'm totally deep diving into it. I can put on the geek colored glasses and enjoy something without thinking about all the writing side of stuff. I mean, I've been writing for decades now. And so, yeah, if I can enjoy something, I can turn that part of my brain off and just enjoy it. Of course, afterwards, I'm dissecting the whole thing because I'm going to, because I want to learn from it. But the problem is if something is bad and not like so good it's bad or cheesy that I can at least enjoy that part of it. If something is bad, I can't help it. I completely drop out of enjoying it. I start dissecting it. I start taking it apart like you're dissecting a frog. And of course, you can't enjoy a program, a TV show, or a movie if you're sitting there picking it apart, which is why I feel like most of the YouTube reactors and movie critics don't tend to enjoy things as much as most people would because, again, they force themselves into that place.
Right.
And my problem is if something is not good and I'm not liking it, I can't just ride with it. I just can't. So that's why I pick things apart. And I understand better now that most people don't do this. And so I'm learning to accept that most people don't do this. And I'll do it for entertainment's sake on the podcast. But,
Well,
of course,
our history in improv comedy.
yeah.
Do you have like coworkers and people that will tell you jokes and you don't laugh and you have to explain to them, well, I'm a professional and people pay me to be funny. And so
no,
don't take it personal.
Fortunately for me, I've been on the planet long enough to know that even if I were to think something like that, by God, I better never say that. Because they would, at the very least, they're going to look at you like, oh, please. They might kill you. I mean, there's that. I would hope I wouldn't say something like that. But if for some reason I wind up, I'm no longer on the podcast and I died mysteriously, something happened. I slipped up and said something like that, maybe. But if there's something I'm not enjoying, yes, I am going to pick it apart and try to figure out why it doesn't work so that hopefully I don't do that in my own writing. And I've succeeded to various levels. Sometimes the worst critics happen to be the worst critics on their own things. It's like, oh, you can pick apart somebody else's stuff, but it comes to your own stuff, you're completely blind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why very often in writing, we're going to go a little bit off road with writing, and then we're going to go back to what we were supposed to be talking about. But that's why most writing teachers will tell you, after you've written something, you've done your first draft, put it away, forget that you wrote it. Then you can go back and read it as if this was somebody else's work. And then you can pick it apart and you'll see stuff. So, but yeah, I think maybe that's part of the reason why I tend to be really critical. The other part of it also is that for some reason, I don't know what it has been the last 6 months, but it seems like I'm hearing over and over again of people in television, in movies, in literature that are tearing themselves to pieces and taking themselves out of the game as storytellers for really dumb reasons. And it seems like it's happening over and over again. And I see how we're losing stories because of this. And it's frustrating because I love stories and I want to see stories and I want to see more stories. And so people who put themselves in positions because of their own stupidity and opening their mouth when they shouldn't, or doing some idiotic thing that takes them out of the game when that should never have happened. And I'm seeing this like over and over again. And it's really frustrating to see that because I see where we're losing stories because of it. We're losing talent because of it. And also there's that frustration that I don't know if you've ever read Harlan Ellison's The Glass Teat. He wrote a series of articles for like many years. Science fiction writer, an amazing science fiction writer.
I've read a couple of his short stories. I've never read articles.
He wrote a series of articles over, like I said, years and years.
I have no mouth and I must scream, right?
Yes, he wrote that story. But he wrote a series of articles in 2 different newspapers about television and his critique on television. And at one time they were all collected together in a special volume with a new preface by him that he called Welcome to the Gulag. And he expressed his frustration in how for literal decades he was warning all of us of the dangers of television and how it was wrecking our brains and how goofy it was and how it was messing with our attention spans and how it was a really empty art form. And he said in this review, he said, as I said all of this, and all of it came true, every word of it, even I wasn't smart enough to predict the internet. Now everything is television. I tried to warn you guys it was going to happen, but you sold yourself. We're all trapped in the gulag now. And so very often when I talk about stories and I talk about my frustrations with people taking themselves out of the game unnecessarily because they did some stupid stuff, or a TV show does some really bad writing that they should have seen from a mile away, and why I got frustrated with and still get frustrated with Doctor Who and a relationship that never should happen, that I live in fear every day that they're going to play this thing off as this isn't a bad thing when it obviously is. Why I get frustrated about it is because I know how eventually all this is going to wreck what I love, which is storytelling. And I know there's nothing I can do about it. There's literally nothing I can do about it. I'm talking into a microphone hoping that some people will hear it, and people do, but I don't feel like my voice is ever going to change Hollywood. It's not going to pierce any writing rooms and change anybody's mind. Right now, a movie that was made from a video game, Borderlands, that took them 6 years to make, that has one of the greatest actresses that we've ever had, another one, an Oscar-winning actress, that is tanking, absolutely tanking. It's going to be most likely by the time it gets pulled from theaters, $100 million in the hole, which again, I know is going to have Hollywood scared because they're like, well, what do these people want? And again, like I said, I feel that stories are getting stripped away from us because Hollywood is trying to figure out how to get their mojo back. For a lot of us, I feel like it's not that complicated. It's obvious you go back to story. And a lot of the problems would be solved if you just went back to your Writing 101 book and refreshed yourself on what makes a great story, what makes a compelling story, and you do that.
Hero, obstacle, goal.
Yeah, it's all there. Story is king. As much as Hollywood has tried to obfuscate the fact that the writing of the script is the foundation of all of it. And this idea that the writer is the least important person in the whole project has been a detriment to them, certainly in the past, but oh my God, is it biting people in the backsides now? I feel like the answer is simpler than people are making it sound. And I know a lot of us have seen it. A lot of us know that this is the case. It's just that the people who could actually make change, I don't know if they see it. I don't know if they're listening to us. I hope that they are. I hope that eventually somebody does. I feel like A23 is to some degree. Are other television writers' rooms or other movie studios, are they going to finally figure it out? Well, I guess we'll see.
We shall see.
And with that said, we come to the end of episode 224. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.